Welcome to the Parent Life Podcast. My name is Jason Stanland. I'm the middle school pastor here at Fruit Cove Baptist Church in Jacksonville, Florida. This week we've got PT, or Pastor Tim, back with us, and by now you should know that anytime we have PT in, that means it's going to be a harder question. And so we're always excited to have you join us, and so thank you so much for agreeing.
It's my joy to be here. Always love being invited.
Yeah, right. So today we're discussing parenting adult children. Now that doesn't necessarily apply to me. My oldest is 9, but parenting adult children is a little different, isn't it? Because at my point, I get to kind of lay down the law if she lets me. And I can say this is the way it's going to be in my house. But when it's adult children, dynamic's a little different. So should we even try to parent adult children, our adult children, not just anybody's, don't do that. But should we parent our adult children? And if so, how do we do that in a good, God-honoring way?
Okay, great. Well, first of all, let me say a couple of things. Everybody doesn't know me. If you do know me, you know I've got 2 children in their 30s. I'm not going to mention their real ages, but they're in their 30s, both married. David and Logan are parents to Mikhail, to my granddaughter. So that's kind of the family dynamic. To be fair, just as a disclaimer, you should probably bring them in and let them do a rebuttal of whatever I'm getting ready to say, because they may go, I heard.
We can just do a response video, reaction video.
I was reminded of this story of a pastor who apparently was not doing well at home, and whenever he preached on marriage, his wife would sit on the front pew, and whenever he would say something about marriage, she'd go, "Yeah, right."
Oh, wow.
And so, I mean, that may be what their response will be to this, but I'm going to try to be realistic, and I have, let me just start out. I have a great relationship with my kids. I think I've got a date with my daughter tonight for dinner. I'm going to go see my son play softball later this evening. So, I mean, they've allowed me to be very engaged in their lives, and one of the things that we need to think about as parents of adult people is that you're going to parent as an adult. You're going to parent adults a lot longer than you're going to parent children. Your adulting, your adult parenting skill set needs to be top game, because you're going to do that a lot longer than you're going to actually have your children. So you've got your kids for maybe 18 years if they decide to go off to college, and then things change. But you could go decades.
Yeah, and that's a great insight. I'm only going to parent this preschooler for a couple of years.
Right.
But,
and we we tend to wait, and it's not that it's unimportant. I mean, we tend to wait the parenting issues on how to do children, when in reality we probably need to spend a little bit more time thinking about how do we do this, because I have seen some adult folks, bless their hearts, who have really been messed up by their parents. I've seen some parents who are absolutely clueless on how they are supposed to behave as adult parents, and so let me just say a couple of things. First of all, don't exasperate your children. That's the biblical admonition that we have. That doesn't stop when your kids get older. Okay, as a parent of adults, you can still exasperate your children. In fact, you may have more opportunities to exasperate your children as an adult than you do as a parent of children. I've used this paradigm before on this podcast. But there's 3 stages of parenting, and if you'll think about raising children as raising Olympic people, raising up Olympians, you've got from ages 1 to or their birth to about 11 or 12, you're like an Olympic coach. You are controlling everything about them, what they eat, who they see, when they sleep, when they get up. All of that is, you have power over every dimension of that. But there's a certain point at which the Olympic coach has to start letting the kids run their own race. And I mean, that's what you're preparing them for, so they can run their own race. Well, that usually begins at about 13 or 14. Now, a lot of parents don't buy that. Right. They don't buy that, their kids, they're running their own race now. And now you have to step back a little bit, which is hard for some parents to start letting go of that and stepping back. But you are now like a coach on the sidelines, and when your Olympian who's running the track decides to stop and say, hey coach, I'm having trouble here, what do I do? That's your job now. Now you step in. But your role as the kids get a little bit older becomes less involved. And then when they become adults, they're really running their own. They're building their own family. They're building their own family structure and system. And you become, ideally, you'll become their friend. I use the word flourish. I want to help my kids flourish. I want their marriages to flourish. I want their parenting to flourish. And I want to be the biggest supporter, because what your ultimate role is as an adult, as a parent of adults, is you're sitting in the grandstand going, cheering them on.
Right.
You are now past the point where you get to reach into their lives and correct them and stop them and get in it. You only do that by invitation. If my kids come to me and say, Dad, what do you think about this? At that point, I have permission to go, oh, well, this is what I think. Now, they're still not mandated to do what I think. I can just say, well, this is what I think. And they will sometimes ask me for advice. Sometimes they'll parent me. I mean, I've had experiences where my kids have parented me and had to say, Dad, we've had to have conversations about boundaries. What's a healthy boundary? How do we do this? Because I don't want to make their lives more difficult as their father. And Pam and I, when Pam was with me, we did not want to get in their way, even though at times we did. So, we just were learning, and there was a learning curve when that begins to happen. But I really, my prayer and my ultimate goal, whether I always pull that off or not, is for them to flourish as adults and to flourish in their marriage and to flourish as parents. And that's what I want to help them do. How do you serve your adult children? How do you cultivate a friendship with them where they don't dread seeing you come? One of the greatest compliments I've gotten from both of my kids is both of them said, Dad, when you get old, you can come and live with us. So I was just glad to hear they're not just picking out a nursing home for me. They're saying, we'd be happy for you to come.
Being around.
Which our family kind of got put to the test last year. That we all lived together during the pandemic. As my kids were building houses and moving around and changing locations, and they were in an interim. We all ended up crashing in together, and it happened during the pandemic. So we went through a period of, we really got to know each other again as a kind of a reacquainting of really as adults during that season. So. But again, they both decided, Dad, if you wanted to, you could live with us. So I thought, okay. So I'm checking out now. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to drop the mic and leave.
Right. While you're at the top
right
of
now
the game
I'm winning.
is when you got her to get
right
out.
now I'm winning. I'm not sure how long that lasts, but right now.
So then let me do a quick follow-up.
Sure.
So let's say as a parent, you see your kid and they're making a decision, and you really feel strongly that it's not a wise decision, that they may actually be headed into some dangerous areas.
Okay.
But they haven't asked your opinion.
Okay.
And you're not even sure if they would want it.
Okay.
What's the best way to approach that?
Let me tell you the principle. If your children, and I learned this the other way around, I learned this about my mother, and I actually had a nurse, a hospice nurse, teach me about where my limits were with my own mother, taking care of my elderly mother, who I did not think was making great decisions. And my brother and I agreed that she was not making great decisions, and we were going to help her. We were going to basically try to stop her. And part of that was we felt like, she had cancer. There were some things going on. So we went to talk to hospice, and the lady asked us this question. Does your mom pay her own bills? We said, yeah. She has, income and an income stream. And she said, and she closed her folder and she said, y'all can leave. I've never been thrown out of an institution before, but they just said, listen, she has every right to make the decisions that she's making. If she's paying her own bill, now if you're paying for her, you're paying her bills, you're taking care of all that for her, then you need to step in and help her. But if she's paying her own bills, if she's making her own income, you have absolutely no right to tell her how to live her life. And I said, thank you. That's really a good word. It was hard, but a good word. Now, flip that around. As a parent, if your children are paying their own bills, they're paying their own way, you have absolutely no right to interrupt their lives unless they invite you to. Now, I know there are some parents out there hearing this and just want to scream right now. That's not what you want to hear. You want to hear, no, you're still their mom. You got to tell them, you're still their dad.
Yep,
you have the right
jump in and save them.
Listen, you do not. Zip it. You have no right to step into their life and tell them how to live their life if they're paying their own way. Now, if they're living on your dime, or they're living under your roof, you have every right to say whatever you need to say at that point. That's a different thing. But if they are living their own lives, they are making their own way, they are responsible adults, paying their own way through in life, you have no right to control or try to constrain how they're living. Even when you seriously disagree. Here we go back into that word. Don't exasperate your children. And that, don't frustrate them, don't make them angry. This is how you do it. You do it when you overstep, when you're supposed to be the coach on the sidelines or the friend in the grandstand just cheering them along, and then you try to overreach and interfere with their race. Yes, they're going to be mad at you. Yes, they're going to be exasperated with you. So this is where, you have to be willing for them to be able to say, yes, it's okay, for you to give me this advice. So, and again, the goal of parenting an adult child is not to chastise them, not to make them feel guilty, not to criticize. That's not your job. If you're doing that, you're doing it wrong. That is not your job to do that. Your job is to, again, help your children flourish. Don't exasperate them, and live the life that be a friend to those those people, because they are precious people to you, and I hope that that's the kind of relationship you have with your children as they become adults. So,
I think that's a good way to end it, because we're not the cops that tell them what they can and can't do.
Exactly.
As you said it, instead let's focus more on being the person that they want to come to when they need some advice. Yeah. Hey, I hope this has been a wonderful episode. I hope for many of you parents, some of you, maybe you are in a challenging situation, and I pray that this has been encouraging to you. Some of you, maybe you have some high school seniors or collegiates, and you're new to this, and this is becoming maybe a little bit difficult, watching them go off and make their own decisions without you. I pray this is encouraging for you as well. Thanks for joining. This is a wonderful opportunity that we get to every week serve you and your family. So if you have any questions about Fruit Cove Baptist Church, by all means, please go to fruitcove.com to find out more about our ministries, about Pastor Tim, and just being a part of our church. If you'd like to interact with us, email, respond, tell us some of your stories. We would love to hear from you. Please email us at ParentLife@fruitcove.com. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you guys next week.